Welcome to the Royals Rundown podcast, presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham, joined, per usual, by the wonderful, the stupendous, the illustrious even, Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, how we feeling this Wednesday?
Flattery will get you everywhere, Jacob.
Oh, thank goodness. That's really where I was hoping it would get me, because obviously the Royals are not trying flattery with any free agent targets right now.
That's certainly what it seems like. My
Yes, it
goodness. I
does.
mean, we were down to I'm just gonna jump us right in, okay? Here we go.
Okay, all right.
We were down to looking for Austin Hayes and Dylan Carlson, and the Royals missed on those guys too.
Yeah.
Ha-Seong Kim, who was Royals review writer Matthew Lamar's favorite free agent target bat. He signed a very reasonable deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't remember if Jurickson Profar had signed his deal with Atlanta the last time we talked.
I believe so, but we
Okay.
didn't really talk about it.
Yeah, so there ain't nobody out there. We
No.
got the Randall Grichuk is the only guy I can think of right now, and he is a right-handed platoon bat.
Yes, precisely.
The Royals have that.
Well, I mean, like the other top outfield option left out there is Harrison Bader, the perfect fourth outfielder that you want for the Kansas City Royals.
I mean, honestly, he could play center, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they throw him $1 million to be the 26th man on the roster, that actually makes a lot of sense. I was doing my first roster projection, my preseason roster projection that should come out this weekend, and I realized, man, the Royals don't got nobody that can play center field right now, and a righty who could play some center field would make a lot of sense. So that's a deal that they probably should do, but also that's not the bat they need.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's at the point we're at, because Carlson, Kim, and Hayes were all three of those guys were guys you could look at their bat and say, like, well, maybe if they rebound, or maybe if they have the perfect season, maybe they're the solution.
I mean, maybe rebounding, Hayes would have had to rebound, but he wouldn't have had to rebound much.
No, not
Carlson
too much.
would have had to maybe find something, but again, not much. Ha-Seong Kim would have been fine just the way he is, assuming he could come back from the injury the way he was before it.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have been improvements to the lineup. They would not have been stars, but again, the thing that I've been banging the drum, the thing that we've been banging the drum on all offseason is you don't have to get a star, you just need a starter. Because the Royals are currently running 3 guys out there, a third baseman, a right fielder, and a left fielder, who are not starters. They do not have the production of starting batters in a major league lineup.
No, they certainly don't. And it is just a disappointing spot to be in, frankly, because I'm at the point where I don't look at any of the position players that are left on the free agent market and say, yes, that guy will come in and will make the Royals better. It will improve that position. And that's a sad spot to be at.
Taylor Ward still hasn't been traded. I still think that's a deal that makes a lot of sense. The Royals still have, and again, this is something I realized as I was going through my preseason roster projection. They have a little bit of depth at reliever, actually, with some guys that I think I would be okay with making the 26-man roster who are currently not going to, because they have that many relievers. I know Angel Zerpa and Carlos Hernandez were drawing trade interest at one point. It just feels like it makes too much sense for the Royals to make some sort of trade, and we may have to wait a little bit longer for teams to go, okay, I guess I'm not getting anything better. Maybe a week before spring training, maybe a week into spring training, to make that happen. But I can't believe that this is it, Jacob. I refuse.
Yeah. And it was, I'm trying to think of some of the priorities that we spoke about back when, the postseason run for the Royals was done. We were fully turning to the offseason. And I think some of the basics that we listed are, this would be a failure of an offseason if they came back with MJ Melendez, Hunter Renfroe, and Michael Garcia as opening day starters at their respective positions. And that's what it's looking like right now. This is disappointing. It really is. Now, I do want to preface it with this. Outside of the big three teams, it has been a slow offseason, is what it seems like.
Yeah.
But Kim's deal shows that these quality guys are still signing reasonable.
Profar's deal.
Yeah, Profar's deal was fairly reasonable for
About
what he is.
15 million a year. That's not bad.
It's not, especially when the
I
Royals payroll right now is coming in below what they spent in
I
2024.
would have spent on what Santander went to Toronto for. I would have done in Kansas City. Yes, that the end of that deal is gonna suck as far as value for the dollar spent. But for the first 2 or 3, it would work. It would really help this team, and by, at the end of 5 years, hopefully Caglione and Mitchell are up here crushing it, and you're like, it's okay."
It's a wash. It all balances out because at that point you're hoping Caglione is giving you that value that you got from Santander
Right.
originally. So it all balances out. But it is we have to hope for a trade at this point because those are the quality players that are left that the Royals can go out and get. I think Kansas City is really suffering from this gluttony of replacement level outfielders because I look at the outfield and there aren't many guys that I can say with 100%, like I want the Royals to let this guy go. You know, Tyler Gentry, he still has some roster flexibility. He still had his good times. Drew Waters, I'm sorry, if you go look at some of the surrounding metrics of Drew Waters in Kauffman Stadium last year, he was one of the best batters. I still kind of believe in Drew Waters and I want him to get an opportunity this year. It's you can go up and down the list about all these guys and I just wanted them to get somebody who was head and shoulders above the existing
That's
options.
that's the problem is they have 7 or 8 fourth outfielders.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
need a second outfielder and a third. But you can like, if you've got a first and second outfielder, and then you've got a fourth outfielder slotted into your third outfielder slot, well, no roster is perfect.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
unless you're the Dodgers, and you have literally paid everyone. And, uh but that's fine. Not everybody can
Yeah,
be the Dodgers. Even
nope.
even in my article over the weekend, "The Dodgers are not the villains," not everybody can be the Dodgers, okay? So, that would be fine, but right now, you're running, like I think in a perfect world, Kyle Isbell is probably a 4th outfielder too.
Yeah, in a
Like,
perfect world, he
he's a
is.
4th outfielder that provides enough defensive value with a home stadium where defense is a premium that
Mhm.
it works, but any other team, if he's on the Dodgers, he's not a starter.
No, no, not at all.
If he's on the Mets, if he's on the Yankees, he's not a starter.
He's a platoon guy. That's his perfect role, and it really, really is because he can bat ninth every other game, facing off for the platoon advantage. That makes sense, especially when you look at manager Matt Quatrero. But there's just no other options right now. I like you talk about the center field. I think that in comparison to the Royals outfield, so the average is here and the Royals bar is like down here off the screen. Compared to that, the Royals do have solid depth at center field. I think that Dairon Blanco and Joey Weimer and Drew Waters can hold
I
down those
completely
spots.
forgot about Joey Weimer. Thanks for Weimer. Thank
Weimer,
you for reminding me because I had Drew Waters as my 26th man,
gotcha.
and I'm gonna fix that because it's gonna be
Eh,
Weimer.
there you go. I mean, I don't really think it matters. Both of them have one
Weimer's got
option.
speed and he's got more prospect pedigree.
He does.
So I think it makes more sense to keep him on the roster and see if he can make something click and save one of your outfield spots.
Yeah.
And he can play center field. He can play
Hmm.
center. He's a very good defender in a way that Drew Waters is not. Dairon Blanco is not playing center field for the Kansas City Royals.
You don't think so?
You just put in that list. I know that Dan put him as the backup center fielder. Not happening. That's not the way the Royals do things.
No.
So
He did primarily play at both corners last year. I
but
think
he can play center. He's got the
he
speed
can.
for it.
Yes.
And he's got more. I know Blanco's got speed, but somehow that doesn't translate into defense for him. It does for Weimer.
There you go. There you go. I like that. Yeah, it is. Wow. We came out swinging, Jeremy. We
I
really
was just
did.
ready to go, man. I was not waiting around today. Sorry.
No, that is just fine. And Jeremy referenced his article that he wrote over the weekend. I also had something come out about Cam Devaney. If you want to go check those out, go visit royalsreview.com. You can also find Royals Review on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Facebook. That Blue Sky crew is like surprisingly active. I was not expecting that from Royals Review on Blue Sky. So make sure you go check them out. There hasn't been a lot of substantial movement on the baseball front. We listed off pretty much the major free agent players that have signed so far. There's still a lot of starting
Oh,
pitching. Go
oh,
ahead.
we forgot old friend Adam Frazier
Oh
signed
yeah,
with his old team, the
yes,
Pirates,
the
not the
Pittsburgh
Royals,
Pirates.
fortunately.
Thank goodness.
The Pirates say we've got Paul Skeens, the best pitcher on the face of the earth. How are we going to get him to the playoffs? Adam Frazier. I think they signed some other reliever. That's it. That's all they've done.
Yeah, Adam Frazier was their first deal of the
So we're
offseason.
frustrated about the Royals, and I'm not. At any point am I telling you that you shouldn't be frustrated about the Royals, because
Mhm.
I am frustrated about the Royals, but we don't have it the worst.
No, we don't. We really, really don't. There are other AL Central teams who have made less moves than the Kansas City Royals have. It
Which is
is
why it's the Dodgers aren't the villains. It's everybody not spending any money.
yes. But if you want a good conversation, I would suggest going and reading Jeremy's article and then engage with your fellow Royals fans in the Royals Review comment section, because that was interesting to say the least. But Jeremy, the minor moves that we do have to talk about. Royals did come to terms with a lot of guys that they already had under team control. I just want to list them out so we're keeping our folks up to date. Catcher Freddie Fermin, Michael Garcia, Dairon Blanco, Tyler Gentry, Joey Weimer, Luinder Avila, Jonathan Bolin, Lucas Urseg, Angel Zerpa, and Nelson Velasquez. All of them have agreed to terms for the 2025 season. Main guys make that should make fans go ooh is Fermin, Garcia, and Urseg. I would say the other guys are woohoo. They are back in a pinch. Um, yeah, it is. That was not the contract news I was wanting to see from the
Yeah.
Kansas City Royals. Perhaps an extension for Cole Reagans would have been nice, or adding that outfield bat that we were talking about and extending them would be nice as well. But alas, here we are. Jeremy, anything to say about them agreeing to deals with these guys?
Yeah, let me just say that those guys didn't have any options, the Royals, and this is true of every big league team with a guy who's pre-arb. The Royals say, "Here's your contract, sign it or sit. You want to get paid? You sign this deal." There's very little in the way of negotiations. Just ask Garrett Cole. You may remember a few years ago when he was with the Pirates. He won Rookie of the Year, got Cy Young votes, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pirates were like, "Yeah, we're not giving you any raise at all. We're giving you the absolute minimum because we can, and you can't do anything about it."
Yeah,
Which is a
that's an
big
unfortunate way.
reason why Garrett Cole is not in Pittsburgh now, is
Mm-hmm.
he was never going to sign a deal with them after they traded him that way.
Nope, they burned that bridge.
Um, uh, would he have played for Pittsburgh after that if they'd treated him better? I don't know. They probably still wouldn't have offered him a competitive contract, but there was no chance after they did that. So the Royals likely, offer these guys reasonable raises, especially I hope Freddie Fermin, who
Mm-hmm.
played half the games at catcher last year as Salvi split his time between catcher and first base, and he was very good, so, but there's very little in the way of negotiating that happens. It's just sign it or say, and you don't accrue service time if you don't sign it, so you can't get out. You have no leverage as a rookie baseball player.
Sad but true. That's just how it is. We'll see if that changes at all in the coming CBA negotiations. I doubt it will, but
Yeah,
we'll
that
see.
that one seems unlikely to go anywhere.
Yeah, it does. Moving on real quick, do want to talk about the starting pitching rotation. So Annie Rogers, when we had her on a previous episode, you can scroll back in our podcast feed to find that episode. She alluded to it. 4 spots of the 5-man rotation being pretty much set in stone, which shouldn't surprise Royals fans too much. You know, Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, and Michael Walker are your clear 1, 2, 3. I was kind of hoping that even with Lorenzen's deal, he would be considered in the competition, but Annie Rogers' latest on MLB.com does make it seem like Lorenzen is slotted in pretty entrenched at that number 4 spot. So, Jeremy, let's go ahead.
I think that makes sense.
It does.
Given he's got the most experience out of everybody who would have competed for that spot.
Mm-hmm.
He was very valuable for the Royals last year. That doesn't guarantee he's going to be in the rotation all year, of course. If guys get hot or he struggles at all, he can easily be moved back to the bullpen. He is also, interestingly, I don't remember where I saw this, but there was somebody who was doing some study. It's paused.
Sorry, can you restart that statement?
Yeah. So as far as Lorenzen goes, there one thing that's really interesting about him is there was this study that somebody was doing. I don't remember who. Maybe you remember, Jacob, that was trying to look at different aspects of what makes a starter a good pitcher or things like that. And one of the
Yeah.
things that came up was Michael Lorenzen was the best in baseball at being unpredictable, which is which is, according to this study, was the thing that basically it was hardest to figure out what pitch he was going to throw next, which is the thing that makes a starting pitcher able to go deeper into games. Because one of the things that the third time through the order penalty isn't about just about, at least, that a pitcher is tired. It's about, well, I've seen his pitches today, so I know what order how good they're working, what order he's going to throw them in, et cetera, et cetera. With Lorenzen, he is you have the least idea what's coming to you the third time through. So, and he didn't rate nearly as highly in the other categories like stuff or movement or whatever. So, with that being his strength, the rotation makes the most sense for him because
Yeah.
that is something he's something that's not going to improve for him in the bullpen. That still works out in the rotation. His stuff doesn't play up enough as much as he loses that ability to just be like, well, you don't know what's coming.
Hey, and you know what? If that is where you find success, that is just fine. I mean, he very much fits in a similar mold as like Seth Lugo. He has a ton of pitches
Yeah.
that he can throw, and he'll mix them in. And it's not
Like
like every single one. Go ahead.
Is that the new market inefficiency? Because Michael
Maybe.
Wacha's got a lot of pitches too, and he got a lot better when he added one more, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's true. He really, really did.
And none of these 3 guys are like stuff masters. Everyone's like, I want the 100-mile-an-hour guy. And the Royals are just stocking up guys who throw all the Alec Marsh, who throw all the pitches.
Yeah. That might just be the Royals mold right now.
Which is
And that's not a terrible thing.
No, that's pitchers who pitch like that. I love them, man. I love them. It's guts, man.
I
It's
like
not
it.
just I got the arm talent. It's I got the brains to pull this off. I love brainy pitchers. Brian Bannister was one of my favorite pitchers when I was a kid for the Royals, and he's a pitching guru. He was for the Red Sox. I think he's with the Diamondbacks now. Just a really brainy pitcher. Who's had a lot of success on the coaching side, the analytics side of things that he didn't quite have, because he didn't quite have the stuff to bring the brain stuff in. But Lugo, Waka, Lorenzen, and Marsh do. So it's fun to watch them. It's fun to see them just completely fool back. I mean, it's also fun to watch a guy fall back and throw 104 miles an hour and the batter can't catch up. But to me, it's always more fun to be like, I feel that guy feels more like me. I can't throw 100 miles an hour. I can try to outthink you. That guy is outthinking you, and it's working, and I love it.
There you go. There you go. But that takes us down to the 5th spot in the rotation because Annie was pretty clear the Royals aren't going to try and hop on this 6-man rotation trend that other teams are. I'm going to stick with the traditional 5-man rotation because that's what their guys like, according to Annie. So that really is going to put an interesting competition for that last spot in the rotation. You have Alec Marsh, Chris Bubich, Daniel Lynch IV, Kyle Wright, and Noah Cameron as the competitors. that Annie listed in her most recent article.
Should I tell you who I picked for my season preview?
You know, yes. Who did you pick?
You want to guess?
I think you picked your favorite Royals pitcher. I
Chris
think that.
Bubich! Yeah, I think
Why
Chris
am I
is
not
going to get it.
surprised? I can't disagree with you there. I mean, man, that guy is going to be so interesting if he could take the mechanical changes and the increased velocity. If he can take that back to the starting rotation, that is going to be a very, very interesting
Well, and
season.
I think it would be foolish of us to forget that at the beginning of the 2023 season, he was in the rotation and he looked very good.
He was dealing. He really
He
was.
he looked like he was really thriving under the new pitching coaches.
Hmm.
And now they've had 2 more years to work with him. I think there's good things there. I do think I'll also throw this out there. I think Kyle Wright is gonna start the year either still on the injured list or in the minor leagues. I do not think he's gonna be ready. I know a lot of people are like, "Kyle Wright's gonna save this rotation next season." I don't think he's gonna be ready.
Yeah, maybe not. This shoulder surgery is pretty. I don't want to say it's pretty like volatile, but the recovery process is still somewhat of an unknown.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get every pitcher that has a surgery back to their pre-surgery form? That's not known.
I know the Royals say he's gonna compete for a rotation spot, but I also don't see him starting. Certainly not at the beginning of the year, maybe towards the end of the year if he looks like really, really good. I expect him to be out of the bullpen, kind of for the same reason that Chris Bubich was in the bullpen. I mean, not just
Hmm.
Chris Bubich was kind of twofold in that the bullpen desperately needed help and that they didn't want to put too many innings on him as he was coming off the injury. So I think they might do the same thing with Wright, is stick him in the bullpen when he is ready to pitch in the big leagues and go from there. And then Daniel Lynch the fourth, I don't think he has a real shot at the rotation either. He's just never looked good in the rotation. He looked so good in the bullpen last year
Yeah.
that I think he's almost got a bullpen spot on lock. And then Alec Marsh, I think he can go either way, and I think he's going to be the long man out of the bullpen to start the year, and he'll be ready to jump in the rotation if and when someone gets injured.
There you go. There you go. And I mean, there isn't a whole lot of roster flexibility in those guys that we listed. Bubich, Marsh, Lynch, all of them have one option remaining. I know Cameron has three because they just added him to the
And he will use one this year.
yes, and he will.
There's no
I
room for him on the opening day
yeah.
roster right now. That's what I'm talking about. When I say that the Royals kind of quietly have a lot of depth in their bullpen, I'm going to spoil the whole bullpen section of this real quick.
Oh. Oh man,
So
Jeremy, come
my
on.
four bullpen locks are Lucas Erceg, Hunter Harvey, John Schreiber, Alec Marsh. That's 4 locks in the bullpen right off the bat. All those guys are going to be there as long as they're not injured. And then my best prediction for the next 4, if the Royals don't make any more moves, which I still think it really makes sense that they will because of what I'm about to talk about. But if they don't make any more moves, I think it's Angel Zerpa, Carlos Hernandez, Daniel Lynch the fourth, and Sam Long would be the next 4 in. But I do think the Royals are going to make moves. I would kind of be surprised if Zerpa or Hernandez were still Royals by the time they break camp. I
Okay.
feel like they're both going to get traded because you're talking about volatility earlier with the shoulder injury, and we know that relievers in general are very volatile, but those 2 guys have been more volatile than most. But they
Yeah.
also looked really good at the end of the year. So I think it makes a lot of sense to try and get someone to bite on them. And then I had the next runner-ups as Chris Stratton, who a lot of people say guaranteed a roster spot because of his contract, but I don't see how you fit him with the way things are right now. And then James MacArthur, who does have a minor league option.
Mhm.
So he could start the year in the minor leagues, but he was their closer to start last year. He's got a lot of good. We've talked about this. He's got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that recommends him to pitching, but also there's no room. And if you've got an option and no one else does, and then Kyle Wright, who again I think would start the year on the injured list, and so that leaves Eric Sarantola, Nolan Cameron, Evan Sisk, Steven Cruz, all in the outside, the way outside, like
Yeah.
looking from behind the barbed wire fence into the home.
I still cannot understand why Steven Cruz did not get a longer run
I
in
I
Kansas
couldn't
City.
tell you. I don't with the guys that they had in the minor leagues that deserved shots, Will Klein, Walter Pennington, Steven Cruz, et cetera, and the fact that they said Chris Stratton was hurt for most of the year and that's why he was awful. I don't understand why. Just put the guy on the injured list. Give some of these guys a shot to see if they got any juice. Because even when Stratton comes back, you can juice some guys with some juice and let Stratton get healthy. The Royals' injury strategy continues to confound me. It has confounded me for years. That's the one thing JJ Piccolo seems to have brought with him to his front office is, yeah, he's hurt, but he's still willing to play, so he's not going on the injured list. No, he's ineffective and he's hurt. You have an excuse. Do it.
Yeah, there's got to be something behind the scenes that I'm missing because I'm in the same boat as you. I just downright do not understand it. I will be putting a poll with this podcast on Spotify too because I want to know what y'all's like. Who would you like to see win this job for the fifth spot in the rotation? I'm with Jeremy. I want Chris Bubich in that number 5 spot. I really like Alec Marsh.
Yeah, me
And
too. This is not a criticism of Alec Marsh.
yeah, this and I know he wasn't perfect last year, but man, like he had for a number 5 starter, he had a good season, I think. But
And let's be
yeah,
honest, I think we got to be honest with ourselves, Jacob. Seth Lugo, probably a free agent at the end of the year.
yeah, probably so.
Probably going to opt out. Royals probably aren't going to be able to extend him or
Mhm.
probably aren't going to want to extend him the way that they did Michael Waka. They may
Correct.
not be able to, not in the sense that they can't afford it, but in the sense that Seth Lugo is like, no, really, let me go check out free agency. I have had much better seasons than Michael Waka did. I think I can do so much better that it's not worth trying to stick around. So in that sense, they might not be able to. They can afford him. They probably will
Mhm.
choose not to.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's going to be 36
Yeah,
after the
so maybe it
season.
makes sense to be like, "Yeah, go get yourself paid, buddy. We would like to focus on pitchers who are a little bit younger, like Alec Marsh, hopefully."
Mhm.
And I'm hoping that, Alec Marsh, in whatever role he's in this year, can take some steps forward and become he's not probably gonna reach Seth Lugo status, certainly
No, I don't think so.
not in the next couple of years, but I would like to see him keep advancing and become a really solid middle rotation guy as opposed to a really solid back of rotation guy, which he is already and which is incredibly valuable.
It is.
It's
It
just
it
I
absolutely
think
is.
Bubich is already probably a really solid middle of the rotation guy that they're going to slot into that 4th or 5th spot.
Mhm. And I think that no matter how great of a spring Noah Cameron has, he's gonna go to AAA. He'll be their opening day starter for the Omaha Storm
Yeah.
Chasers.
And
That
he will
is
he will be ready to come up if there's multiple injuries, which it's incredibly possible.
it is.
Marsh is probably the first guy in, but Cameron might be the second.
That he might. That he might. So we shall see what happens. If you want to keep track of who is slotting where and you want to keep track of that, make sure you go visit royalsreview.com, bookmark it, and make sure to check out the rumblings every single morning over there. Some prospect news, Jeremy. We have some prospect updates for our
Ooh,
listeners.
prospect.
First off, friend of the podcast, Jared Perkins, came out with his top 5 prospects in the Royal system. He has a write up on all of the top 15 and his honorable mentions. So make sure you go check that out at the website. But I want to start off with Baseball America here. Baseball America released their top 30 prospects in the Royal system. No surprise, it goes Caglio and Mitchell. And then Jensen, Kudrna, and new draftee David Shields rounding out the top
Ooh,
5 for them. Yeah, that's
wow.
exactly.
That's great for Shields and somewhat promising for the Royals. Was
Yeah.
he was a college guy, right?
Let me double check on that. Drafted in the second round, high school pitcher. He was committed to Miami.
So,
Yeah.
the bad news is that as a high school guy, you're probably still waiting a while.
Yeah, probably so.
College guy, you can be like, this year? End of the year? Next year for
Maybe.
sure? But high school guy, no.
Well, I definitely think that some
But it's still good.
guys I definitely think that some guys in Baseball America's top 10 we could see at the end of this year. Noah Cameron comes in at 8. Steven Zobak, who I recently wrote about, comes in at number 9. He's really an underrated prospect. And then also Gavin Cross is sitting at number 6.
If the
So
Royals don't make a move in the outfield and we don't see Gavin Cross at some point this year, there has been an even greater failure than any we have understood, either
yeah.
on his part or on the Royals' part, or both.
hmm I do think it is promising. He came in at their number 10 prospect last year, and the Royals didn't have a ton of folks graduate from the farm system, which is a good and a bad thing. But he rose up quite a few spots from 10 to 6, so that's promising. I will absolutely take that. The one that I'm sure most people were keeping track of, MLB Pipeline's top 100 drop, and 3. You heard that right. 3 Kansas City Royals were in there. Yes, I know it doesn't sound great, but you got to remember, I think
Hey,
it was 2 years ago.
3 is better than none.
Yep, that was the case 2
That
years
was not
ago,
a
I believe.
sarcastic woo. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't sarcastic.
Well, it might have been the preseason top 100 last year that they didn't have a single top 100
I
prospect. I
thought
think.
Mitchell was always on the top 100. I might be
Well,
wrong
you
about
know what?
that.
Let me
He might have been
see.
an honorable mention for a little while.
So here's the issue. They don't show you
Yeah,
their
Baseball America won't give you their you're looking at MLB
pipeline.
Pipeline. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how MLB Pipeline works. I know Baseball America used to give you every top 100 forever, and then they were like, "No, you got to pay for that." Because I wrote a series of articles my first year at Royals Review offseason that was just going through all of the top 100 lists and
Mm,
finding all of the guys who were Royals when they were on the list or would later become Royals and writing about them.
okay.
So
Hey,
I did that, and that was a lot of fun, and no one could do that anymore.
nope. Not a zero zilch. But no surprise to anyone going back to that MLB pipeline top 100. Caglione tops the Royals prospects, coming in at 22nd overall. Very nice. And then Blake Mitchell slots
I
in
thought
at
69.
48th. I said 22nd.
Yeah.
It's very
And
nice.
then you said very nice.
Ha ha ha. Ha.
69
Very
is the nice
funny.
number. This is the internet, Jacob. Get with the deal.
Sorry, you just went back about like a decade and a half in internet humor.
Oh,
I
please.
hope you
Oh,
know that.
69 is eternal.
It is eternal. And then the last Royals prospect listed in their top 100, Carter Jensen, getting some love down there at
Woohoo!
86. I definitely think he was the most surprising one. Like Carter Jensen has always produced at the minor league level, but just never really had that prospect
Yeah,
love,
I
and
just
now he's getting
assumed
that.
I knew Mitchell and Caglione would be on there somewhere, but I thought they would be it. So seeing Carter Jensen is pretty cool.
Yeah, that it is. But that is, I think that really kind of ends it for the top prospect evaluators releasing their results. Everyone's really turned into spring training. It's a very exciting time. I know
Just
the
a
Royals
couple weeks away from pitchers and
yeah,
catchers reporting.
yeah, less than a month away from the first spring training game, which I know a lot of folks are going to have that circled on their calendar. But some other dates you should have circled on your calendar. Royals rally is this weekend. You get in the swing of
On my
things.
way. I would have to leave right now.
Yeah, I think I'll start walking. See how far I make it. Just go touch Kauffman Stadium, then turn around, walk back. But also something that seems like an annual tradition at this point. I don't know how far it goes. Fourth consecutive year, the Royals are covering the cost of admission to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum for the
Which is
entire month of February.
that is just one of the coolest things the Royals do, and it is I think if you're aware of the current political actions happening in our country is especially cool this season. That is you all I wish I could take advantage of it. Obviously, I am nowhere near Kansas City right now, but I hope that all of you out there will. That Bob Kendrick and Buck O'Neill put a lot of love into that thing, and you've got to check it out, and for free. Come on.
Yeah.
It's for free. It's baseball. It's the history of baseball. There are so many cool stories. If you've played MLB The Show, the last couple of years, they had the Negro League storylines modes that they added. I hope they're going to have it this year. And I've learned so much from those. And of course, Bob Kendrick narrates those and
Yeah.
gives us the stories. So those everything. If you don't want to play MLB The Show, but you want those stories, go to the Negro Leagues Museum. Those stories are there.
Exactly. Last year, according to the Royals, there was more than 16,000 visitors in February alone, who they covered the price of admission for. So that is great. If I was in the area, I would definitely be
Yeah.
taking advantage of this.
Yeah.
It's right in the middle of Kansas City's 18th and Vine Jazz District. So go check it out, even if it's a little bit of a drive. This I should just make it a little bit more accessible for you to go check out some real baseball history that you don't hear enough of. Also, it's always appropriate to give Bob Kendrick some love. I
Yeah.
mean, man, I love hearing that guy talk. I
Every
really
time
do.
every time he joins the Royals booth, he's my favorite booth guest every year.
Do you remember that game that they had a rain delay and he was in the booth?
I don't think I got to see that one, unfortunately.
Man, that was such an enjoyable rain delay. It
I bet.
really
I'm
was.
sure it was.
But yeah, I wish so genuinely I didn't like learn about this museum until after I moved out of Kansas.
Yeah, same here.
And I'm like, oh, I wish I'd known about this because I would have wanted to go. But if you're there, go. If you're not, make sure you tell your fellow Royals and baseball friends in the area. Jeremy, is there anything I'm forgetting about the Royals?
Not about the Royals, but speaking of MLB The Show, we did have a little bit of a
Oh
fun
yeah.
announcement this week. The MLB The Show announced the release date, which I've already forgotten, of MLB The Show 25. I'm very excited about it. And they announced the cover athlete for this year. Not Bobby Witt Jr., unfortunately, but Ellie De La Cruz, Gunnar Henderson, and Paul Skeens, three of the most exciting young players who are not Bobby Witt Jr., currently in MLB. And honestly, I think I'm okay with Bobby Witt not being included in that group
Really?
because I'm hoping Bobby Witt gets his own cover next year.
That'd be pretty cool. It
I
would.
think Bobby deserves to have a cover to himself. Those three guys, all very good. Paul Skeens probably deserves his own cover. I love Ellie De La Cruz. He's my favorite player to play in MLB The Show because he's
Okay.
fast and he's hits hard and he's a switch hitter. But he's not the superstar that Bobby is, or even that Paul is, or honestly that Gunnar is. And Gunner's not as good as Bobby or Paul. It's a really cool thing. It's their 20th anniversary. Those are three very exciting players, three very young, exciting players. We're now very far distant from 2020 inexplicably included Jazz Chisholm on the
Yeah.
cover. The only thing I could figure is that they loved the idea of jazz as a black music form, and because that's how the intro went. It was like playing jazz and jazz talking about the music form jazz, and then that was their first year doing the Negro Leagues, so there was a lot of
Yeah.
tie-in with that stuff. But other than that, it just didn't make a lot of sense. So now we get Paul Skeens, Ellie De La Cruz, and Gunnar Henderson, and they've promised to make some changes. They're supposed to have their first gameplay trailer come out next week. Very excited to see what's coming.
I did chuckle a little when they said in the press release we are showcasing the future of baseball without Bobby Witt Jr. on the
I mean, those three
cover.
guys are still a huge part of the future of MLB for sure.
They are. I
What
just
the thing that simultaneously annoys and amuses me is that all three players announced on social media that they were the cover athlete for
oh
MLB The Show, and and a lot of people, I'm sure not just me, was sitting there going, "What? Did you guys did somebody get something screwed up? Or are you guys trying to make it happen by just saying?" And then it was like, "Oh no, they're all okay. It's just a stunt."
we'll see. Let's think about it like this. All these different games, especially the AAA games, they'll have like different editions and they'll have different covers for the edition. I think maybe if you have like a franchise edition or a superstar edition, that's when you use Bobby Witt Jr. I'm pretty sure that's what they're saving him for,
I don't
Jeremy.
know.
Right?
We'll
I'm
see.
I'm being sarcastic.
They're missing out if he's not the cover athlete next season, I think.
For sure. A game drops on March 18th. I am primarily excited because this is going to be the first game in a while that is just on one generation
Yeah.
of console, which should allow them more flexibility to do cool things with graphics and stuff like that. So very, very exciting.
And potentially just with gameplay stuff, the memory requirements are going to be a little less strict.
Yeah,
And I know one of the things they announced that a lot of people are very excited about is they're getting rid of the seasons model. So
right.
there's no more you get this card you really like and you can't play with it anymore for the rest of the
Thank
year.
goodness.
I that never bothered me because I wanted an excuse to play with all the new cards. But I know a lot of people are excited about it, so we'll see how it all works out.
There you go. All right, Jeremy, let's go ahead and get on to some Royals reviews. I want to go ahead and start us off because I just finished this book this afternoon. Very, very interesting. It's called Autocracy Incorporated: The Dictators Who Want to Run the World. I get it. That title sounds like a doozy, and it's a hard hitting book. It's from Pulitzer Prize winner Annie Applebaum, published by Doubleday, who has like a history. These are the type of books that they publish. All in all, this is, I'm just going to read the synopsis so I don't butcher it at all. The book examines how autocratic governments, which do not share a common ideology, collaborate to increase their power and control against the democratic and liberal countries. It is an expanded version of Applebaum's article in the Atlantic magazine titled "The Bad Guys Are Winning." Uh,
So, what I'm hearing, Jacob, is that you can write an article when it's newsworthy and then expand that into a book later instead of just sitting on important information that the
yes,
public could use until
yes,
you can get a book deal. Okay. Just so
yeah,
that is a thing that people can okay.
yes. That
If you
they
don't
that they
know what
can.
I'm talking about, don't worry about it.
If you know, you know. Some good reviews from it. New York Times said it was an urgent, almost steamrolling prose, describing it as breathless, a
Ooh,
valuable book
interesting.
for many reasons. Yeah, it's a quick. I listened to the audiobook, and it was just under 5 hours. The actual print book is 224 pages, so it's, even if you can't really process nonfiction that well, reading it, this is a quick one at least, and it lets you know what information you need to know. So again, that's Autocracy Incorporated: The Dictators Who Want to Run the World by Annie Applebaum. Jeremy, over to you.
So I finally remembered what I was originally going to review on
Oh,
Sunday's
thank
episode.
goodness.
For those of you who are following me on social media, this will not be news to you. I have some pretty bad tooth problems happening with one of my teeth right now. And for about a week, I guess, I had some incredible tooth pain. I am living pain free right this moment, though the situation isn't handled by any means. It's a very, very weird situation. But while I was suffering all that pain, I discovered Oragel, which is a topical pain cream. They also have a gel form. I tried them both. I can't tell the difference between how well they work. Man, it will numb the heck out of your face, but it will also resolve a lot of that pain. So that was a huge benefit for me. And the thing is, as I said, this was a couple weeks ago that I was having this tooth pain,
Hmm.
and I still am not scheduled for surgery to begin to fix the problem until next week.
Yeesh.
So if I was having tooth pain all this time, I would not know what to do if it wasn't for something like Oragel. So if you are also waiting for necessary dental procedures and enduring lots and lots of pain, Oragel, it really, really works.
All right. Hell yeah. I love to hear that it did actually work, and I'm glad that you found that, Jeremy.
I was not in a good place.
I bet you weren't. I am such a wuss about tooth pain. I really am. All right, folks, that is going to do it for us today on the Royals Rundown podcast. Thank you very much for sticking around with us. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can comment on this episode on Spotify, You can follow us on social media. You can follow Royals Review on social media. We're not on the on Twitter much, but you can go follow us on Blue Sky.
Soon we'll be off of Twitter, right?
Yes. Yes. Soon
Yes.
we will.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
Okay.
So, all right.
No, I didn't
they
threaten Jacob. What are you talking about?
Thank goodness this is an audio only podcast. All right, folks. They are Jeremy Greco. I am Jake Milham. Thank you for being with us. And until next time, go Royals.